Passing through the gates where we are taken to a higher realm. So no one wants to hear all that toxic self. The bell of our ancestors where it's felt. Passing through the gates where we are taken to a higher realm. So no one wants to hear all that toxic self. When the bell of our ancestors where it's felt. Passing through the gates where we are taken to a higher realm. So no one wants to hear all that toxic self. When the bell of our ancestors where it's felt. Passing through the gates where we are taken to a higher realm. So no one wants to hear all that toxic self. When the bell of our ancestors where it's felt. Peace, 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 and blessings to all here. Maboy ka, ituno kinati, auno, warhab, samal, tet, zamalu, musar. Bienvenido, mis hermanas, mis hermanos, donde quiera que donde se encuentran ustedes. Que esté feliz. So welcome, sisters and brothers. And I know that, I command the universe to make sure that everybody is doing well. Okay, let's put it like that. Here we go. As awareness goes, which is your consciousness, wherever you put your consciousness at, your energy is going to flow. You know that. Wherever you put your consciousness at, right? That's where the energy is going to flow. So today, we're going to put our consciousness on investigation. Investigating, knowing. Remember that we spoke about, I reiterated to you about the Sufi saying that says you can believe in your cart that it'll take you to your destination, but not know that there's a wheel loose. See? It's the difference between believing and knowing. But knowing that the wheel is loose, you get off the cart and you investigate to find out more, find out what you don't know, find out, make sure that everything is secure, right? That's investigation. And so, put myself on camera here for a minute, so you can see me. Yeah, peace and blessings. My background is how it used to be out in the Bronx, in Brooklyn, over there in the, especially Bronx and Brooklyn, some places in Manhattan. I didn't quite live in an area like this, to be honest with you, because my mother, when she seen that the neighborhood was just getting deteriorating, she would move. We were like gypsies. We moved. You know what I'm saying? Because she, to be original in the conditions like this is very dangerous, and it's very downtrodden. You know what I'm saying? And you can see in the back, you see those buildings in the back, that's inhabitable, right? You see people there. But then look, so I did have to, I did as a youth, when we lived in Shakespeare Avenue and I had to go to Jerome, to play congas or to hang out with friends, explore my neighborhood. There were neighborhoods like this. And also growing up, I remember coming into areas like this when I had to go to Simpson or I had to go to Southern Boulevard, places like that. I seen this deterioration firsthand, you know what I'm saying? Seeing a few abandoned buildings going to school when I was in junior high school, not junior high school, the end of elementary school was like an annex. They separated the fifth graders from the sixth grade. So it was your transition to go into junior high school, 6, 7, and 8. Those 3 years in junior high school. So I was in the fifth grade, up there by Featherbed, and I remember passing areas like this, to go to school. But there was a bunch of us kids and we were safe. And it wasn't that as bad as this. This is more like in the South Bronx. It became very, very deteriorating in the Bronx. Also, I seen this also Lower East Side. I remember doing a gig with a charanga band, and we played at the Lower East Side, and the one that commissioned us to do that concert was this gang. Crazy, yeah. They paid us money. I mean, we were scared, like, oh, we gonna get paid, man, and this is a gang. But we got paid. They treated us pretty well. And it was in the Lower East Side. I think Avenue D, if I'm not mistaken. And so we played that gig. It's a charanga band. I forgot the name of the gang that was there. I forgot the name of the gang, but yeah, they commissioned us to play. So you see, so I just wanted to give you a quick explanation, not explanation, but just give you a quick synopsis and scenario of what's happening in the background here. You know what I'm saying? And also, to let you know that I had a very good upbringing. You know what I'm saying? But I was exposed to areas like this, not as much. I didn't have to live there and play there. You know what I'm saying? But like the mother of my children can tell you that her brothers experienced this, because they even fell through abandoned buildings. You know what I'm saying? And the city had to compensate them and stuff. And to this day, one of them is handicapped. It affected them. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, just to give you a little bit from that. So we're talking about investigation, right? Investigation. Now, so remember, investigating is knowing. You know what I'm saying? That's a scientific method. Scientific method to know something. You ask the questions. Okay, I'm looking at my wheel. Are the lugs loose? I'm asking a question, right? It puts me on a quest to say, is the lugs loose? Let me check them. You know what I'm saying? Is this wheel stable? Let me check it. Are they tight, those lugs? Let me check it. So you do your investigation, because you ask these questions. Not always out loud, but you ask a question in your head. Is this loose? Is it? So that's a scientific method, an innate method that exists within us. As childs, we can see children, how they ask questions. You know what I'm saying? That curiosity, right? So now let's go right into it. Oh, before I start, what time is it? Past it. But you know what? I definitely have to do Pataruk. If you bear there with me, please. And let me just say the affirmation. Pataruk. Put our mind in this place. You know what I'm saying? So Anuki Jawef Pa Ashuk Impa Paut. I am in the divine love of the all expanding, the heart, right? The heart. Wukale Ashuk Kawunja Wef Niya. And all divine love is in me. Anuki Kwasaum Impa Paut. I am part of the all expanding. Wupa Paut Kawung Kwasaum Impa Im Niya. Sorry. And the all expanding is part of me. Anuki Wahu Ame Pa Paut. I am one as the all expanding. Wupa Paut Kawun Wahu Ame Niya. And the all expanding is one as me. Nakuk Kadorna Jah Ame Kwasaum Impa Paut. I can succeed as part of the all expanding. I can succeed. Najah Wuhabub Ame Mush khras and fail as an individual. Mush khas an individual person. You know what I'm saying? Think I'm separate from the whole, but don't understand how we are all the embodiment of all. You know what I'm saying? But we'll speak about that at another lesson when we talk about in the nature of nature, about the one supreme being and how you are part of a one being of your race. Anyway, nakukador kawan kalepafaf nakuk dayor jawef pa out. I can be all that I want in the all expanding. I could be all that I want. You can't take that away from me. Am wasa. Am dayarni. Kawun lake bakai. Jawef pa paut. As long as my want is to stay in the all expanding, right? The all expanding. I'm immersed in that ocean. Anuki yabit anuki yabit be nafashni. Or by nafashni if you want to say, or be nafashni. Anuki. I am never by myself. Nafashni. Right? Myself. Papaot kawun anuki. The all expanding is I am. Papaot kodor nuka kodor, and all expanding I can. Papaot amul nuka amul, and the all expanding does I do. Excuse me 1 second. I see how long is this one. Okay, I'm gonna do one more and then go on. Now this is the Sabiic language, y'all. Okay, Sabian Muspatria, right? Because we are Sabians, Muspatria, and this is Mispatria, right? Lahaj, the language of Sabiic language. It's very interesting because again, it's linguistics. It's linking ourselves to a linguistics. And if you look at a lot of these glyphs, you find a lot of these glyphs even when amongst the Mande people, Afro-Asiatic, like they say, amongst the Mande people. If you look at the glyphs, I'll bring it up. Let me share my screen and let me bring it up. We'll do it some other time. I'll bring it up. Anyway, that's when you look at these glyphs, and I'll present them one day. So, laha hum man. Noon. From them, from us. Noon. We are the us. Right? From. Mana. Noon. Laha. Hum. Mana. Noon. From them, from us. Okay? Laha. Hum. Mana. Noon. Amti. Amti hum. Ather karir hum. They are with them. Amti hum. Ather karir kum. They are with you all. Kum. All of you. They are. Amti hum. Ather with Karar noon, us, all of us. With us. Karar noon. Amti hum ather jawif niya. They are inside of me. Amti hum ather niya wu anuki hum. They are me and I am them. Yaye ashuk raye. Yaye, Ashuk, Raye, all the vine loving Ray, the sun, a star. Ashmo, Jaya, Noon, Ashmo, Jaya, Noon, listen at us. Ashmo, Yaye, Nathar, U, Afuk, Noon. An overseer, acceptor, Afuk Noon, Anun, Ather, Muhar, Muhrad, Muhrad Ukum, Anun, Ather, Muhar Ukum. We are you all's children. Muhradu, Kum. Yaye, Natharu, Afuk. No. Oh, overseers, Natharus, overseers, judges, please accept us. Afuk noon, accept us. Afuk noon. Yaye Natharunu, and our overseers. Anun. Atum. Atum. And that's the second part of the chants. Okay, hope you enjoy that. You know what I'm saying? And so now, excuse me 1 second. Let me pull this up. Let me end this music in the background. It's annoying me now. Anyway, let's get at it. So investigation and knowing, investigate, know something, right? So let's look at investigation. Out of the 19 courses, we're going to look at investigation and its use. Soon I'll pick up anybody wants to become pupil, student, wants to learn, because I'm just a student teacher. So I'm learning as I'm going forth, but I'm just giving the method of what we're going to use as learning. So if you're interested in learning certain sciences and certain subjects out there, get at me. Okay. I'll put my email sometime on the stream. Hold on 1 second. Let me do this. Let me do this. So anybody wants to contribute, and then also you have my cash app, and we'll talk about the offering, the goodwill offering. Assalamu alaikum. I'll be back if you read. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Dayu. And so and I'm gonna put my email here, so you have my email. Okay. So I'll just keep that up there for now. Okay. So now investigation and its use. How do we use investigation for us, right? From day to day and to week, a person can face many unpleasant circumstances in their life, and we know that, right? Thinking everything's going perfect. There's certain unpleasant circumstances. So somehow he manages to get through these times, convinced there is not much he can do to improve his life. Somehow to get through. I can't improve my life. I don't know what's going on. Why I fail. Why that person does something, right? Like we discussed in class today. Why that person does something but when I do it, I fail. What is it? What is it that person, you know what I'm saying? Again, you're asking these questions, but at the same time, you get through these times, and then you convince yourself that there's not much you can do to improve your life. So perhaps there's a project planned for months at work that doesn't come off with the expected success. The production in the office has declined and sharply during the past few months, or the addition to the house takes longer than the first plan. Such things happen, an uncommon occurrence for our many uses. These are just some examples that they use here. Okay. Or you try much, you're working, you try to do your job, you pay your bill, whatever, and somehow there's circumstances around you that seem not to work. You feel that, if I get that job, I'm gonna be happy. If I have this apartment, I'm gonna be happy. If I just could find the right woman and create I'm gonna be happy. There are always circumstances, always. So this investigation goes deep, and this type of feeling goes deep and deep and deep. And this is shadow work. And that's what I'm going to save for those when I get these classes together, curriculum together, and then we have a day where we actually do spiritual practice called shadow work. We're going to define what a shadow works. We're going to define them, all the different levels, what I'm saying, in our lives, what I'm saying, that we all share in humanity, and then work with that. Okay. So such things that happen, they're common occurrence for many of us. Thank you for watching, Robert. But these do not need to be the usual type of experience that happen in your life. This doesn't have to be. Why? You know what I'm saying? Why I can't get a hey? Why something? Why? Why can't I not have that relationship? Some occurrence, something always happen. Okay. You can live a happy existence and accomplish your goals in any area in life, individually, with your family, your job, with your family, your relationship, your job, your community. aims you imagine for yourself can be accomplished. It can be accomplished. I don't want to like sound so like I'm optimistical. I'm an optimist. I'm not a pessimist. Always thinking that worse, the worse, the worse. I try to look at the beneficial things and try to, it's a if it's a struggle, man, come on. You got to give yourself a fighting chance. You know what I'm saying? You got to give yourself that fighting chance. So all those aims that you have, relationship aims and the job, all that stuff can be that you imagine for yourself that they can be accomplished. If such goals are not being attained, or if you are in a situation that has gotten worse, there's an actual cause for this that can be discovered. Remember that? Conflict is not two people, it's the third person. So you have to investigate who's the third party, person, organization, whatever, and expose it. You know what I'm saying? So that you can reconcile with your brother and sister, reconcile within people and properly communicate. Create that affinity and then communicate. So there's always an actual cause and effect. It's Hermetic principles. We learned this also with Tahuti when he wrote the Hermetic principles. One of them is cause and effect. The principle of cause and effects, you have to be aware of it. Every effect is from a cause, and every cause has an effect. So it can be looked at, investigated. Normally, this idea is one that people often do not realize. They don't want to think about it. Things are actually caused. They don't want to think about that at all. They don't want to at all. They don't want to look for the causes. I don't know, maybe you're afraid just to see it. Expose that truth and see it for yourself. You don't want to do the work. So they don't just happen. There are reasons behind every unpleasant and difficult circumstances. There's reasons that you can do something about. I'm telling you, you can do it. You know what I'm saying? You can do it. My Boricua brothers and sisters, my Sabiic brothers and sisters, Nuwapians, my Muslim brothers and sisters, my Christians, my Israelites. You know what I'm saying? All of you. If there are difficult circumstances, unpleasant, there's reasons that you can do something about it. Do something about it. If you're confronted, if you're a Christian, you're confronted by certain narratives that make you feel very unpleasant, uncomfortable, right? What's the cause of that? Right? And you got to be able to do the work. You got to be truthful, able to do the work. You know what I'm saying? And you can find the reasons and you can do something good about it. You can grow from it. You can grow from them experiences. Without knowing this, man, often depends on the belief that magic or luck have the power to have an influence in our life. Poof. I believe that there's a man that's sitting on the throne. So he has his butt. He sits on this throne with a wand, big beard and a wand, and go poof. Everything magically gets resolved. Oh, I leave it up to God. I leave it up to resolve things. Or luck. Right? Or looks to study the stars to determine his future. Or some people just that's where they get astrology. They look for the stars. You know what I'm saying? Astrology. You know what I'm saying? Actually thinking that the movement of the planets and the star can tell him what will happen in his life. The stars and the formation of the stars in astronomy does not tell you what's going to happen in your life. That's astrology. It doesn't. It tells you about your character, personality. It can tell you how those influences your character, personality, right? But you can have a certain character, personality on the star, but you could be brought up in a different environment. Different environment. And that happened. Look at the stories of king, certain princes and prince. They could be born in the monarchy. They could be born a king, but then what happened, right, is they're being put in a servitude position. Changes things. for them. So many people just hope vainly, unlikely to have the desired result, that nothing else will go wrong. And they mislead themselves with the belief that life is normally a struggle. And that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. It is what it is, right? The famous word of Trump. Trump. It is what it is. That's just the way it is. You know what I'm saying? For example, a farmer with a very poor crop one year has no explanation for it that makes sense. He has no idea that he himself caused this condition. However, if you were to look into it, you will find out that the farmer had earlier failed to keep seeds safe for the spring planting. And so the seeds were harmed with insects. See? The cause behind it. He got to investigate. Not realizing this, he might come up with all sorts of odd reasons and just blame it on bad luck or the stars ain't right. You know what I'm saying? But overlooking other things. So I know I've done this before and I've gone through this before. I just want to revisit investigation real quickly. So to look into, handle, and improve any situation, right? In any area in life requires skill and investigation. It requires a skill in investigation. If you want to handle, you want to improve any situation, you have to do investigative work. You have to. And that includes knowing, right? And asking certain questions and then looking into it, not being afraid to look into the situation. The ability to think in a reasonable, right? Reasonable and sensible manner and get to the actual cause of the problem. So we spoke about reason, and I haven't brought it up, but I'm gonna save that for a special class. We talk about reasons. We're talking about the collection of knowledge, and then the overstanding over it, standing to reason, and then the wisdom, the practicing it. What they call asa nupu, asa nupu, naba nupu. You know what I'm saying? And those are now Valley sciences. Nupu science. You know. So when you do a proper investigation, you find out the actual cause of the problem. You know, that you're facing. You have to do that proper investigation. You got to go deep in it. Any organization you could observe that its production was down, you know what I'm saying? There's good situations. There's not a good situation happening. It should be investigated. The cause has to be located. So investigation can also be used in your own personal life to improve your conditions, right? Investigation also when it deals with schools of thoughts, which we having a lot of conversation lately about different schools of thoughts, on getting enough of the riffraff, enough of the fake, of the fugazi, enough of that fake stuff that has been fed to us for decades. You know what I'm saying? Enough of that narrative, that fake stuff. We got to get into the core. We got to investigate the core of these schools of thoughts and where it stems from and how does it relate to nature, because nature takes care of us. So we got to, we don't have to take care of nature. Nature take care of itself. It does what it does unconditionally. You know what I'm saying? And there's a word for that, edificaciously. It just does it because it does it. You know what I'm saying? But it allows us as human to participate. We can participate with nature and move like that. You know what I'm saying? So when doing investigation, you should always be asking the question, what don't I understand? What I'm missing here? What I'm not getting? What is it? That's the beginning. When you're going to start an investigation. You know what I'm saying? I like to watch a lot of Sherlock Holmes. You know what I'm saying? He's always asking that question. There's something here that I'm not understanding. And so you're trying to put the pieces together, I like to watch stuff like puzzle making and Sherlock Holmes and stuff like that. Detective, I forgot that other one. I'm the girl, So, sorry. I'm not even reading the chat here, but anyway, okay. Set small goals always. Yeah. And that's again, that's a gradient. You want to be able to to go step by step, step by step. Yeah, you want to be able to do that. But in an investigation that we're looking at, we're seeing that you ask these questions all the time. You know what I'm saying? You have to ask, what I don't understand, what I need to find out when discussing with somebody. And like that, you can, for example, like, sometimes you come into conversation with people about Islam. You know, right? So, but then there's things in Islam that you don't understand. Why? Why is this person saying this? And what is it about in my school of thought or the way I get down? What is it I'm not understanding? What I'm missing here? Because there seems to be a something happening here that's not right. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta face it, you know. So you always ask the question on what I don't understand concerning the existing condition that you want to handle. It's just when you want to handle something, right? You want to even have conversation with people like I have done with pastors and stuff. And I always come in there with the questions, what I don't understand. What is it? What is it? What I don't understand? Where's the conflict at? Why, so I just share what I have to share. And then I let, and the other person, and I can see by their reaction of how they react, and I can see where they're heading, you know what I'm saying? And that's how that you expose that. And hopefully they're a type of person that can take that lesson, can take that and do the shadow work and ask himself the question, man, what did not understand? What am I missing here? You will find that two facts don't agree when you look into things, meaning that they're different and it makes it impossible for both to be true. So you can't understand them, right? This is in that sense. Now, we briefly let me bring something up. There was a discussion yesterday I was watching on a podcast, and it was, is the Bible good for liberation or is it oppressive? The Bible, is it a book of liberation or oppression? Right? That to me is a logical fallacy. It's a very bad question. It's a very tricky question. It's critical thinking, right? Right? But now if you ask yourself, can liberation and oppression exist at the same time? Can it? So we look at other examples and other axioms that says one person's heaven can be another person's hell. And one person's hell can be somebody else's heaven. You know what I'm saying? I said that before, and there's something in that. This bad condition that a person is creating could be their way of creating their heaven. So then you say this, so when you oppress certain people, right? Certain people that had that they oppress people, for them it was a liberation. Check it out. The oppression of the African slavery under the Atlantic slavery was a liberation for the European because it allowed them to grow economically. It was a business, you know what I'm saying? Very bad business for the slaves and for some of our ancestors and in humanity. But it created their liberation, their economical liberation. So you know what I'm saying? That's the point. Is can the question, a more powerful question would be, can liberation and oppression exist at the same time in the Bible? Can you have God and the devil in the Bible? Hold up. Can you have God and the devil in the Bible? Because they do exist in the Bible, the whole book of the Bible. So again, that's investigating. What? I don't know. I asked that question. So I don't know. So now I go deep into it. So I start looking at axioms and I start looking at certain biblical conditions and scenarios and things that happen in the Bible. And I see how oppressions in one breath it talk about oppressing people, and slavery is okay in Israel. Then it talks about liberating, the resurrection and liberating. And I'm saying, man, all of this is a soup of ideas and concepts. It's a soup of it. So it's existing at the same time, occupying different spaces, but at the same time. That's different. That's crazy. That's physics. Okay. So an investigation. I'm sorry. Let me read on here. So I'm just gonna go quickly through this. I mean, so an investigation Um, you know, you're finding out things. You're looking into things, right? Something is poorly functioning part of an organization, whatever you're investigating. Then you find something that you don't understand about it. Then you ask, questions of the people in that area or the people you engage. You ask questions. Oh, why? There's questions connected with the problem. And you look into the area to get more information. By following these steps in this order, you will find the cause of the trouble, which can be handled. So the work area properly again is functioning properly again. Your communication is functioning properly again. Okay. In an organization, you can apply just these 3 steps over and over again. And it will usually be enough to just keep it running very smoothly by asking the question, finding out what I don't know. What is the cause? Finding the cause of it, asking those questions, investigating, and then doing something about it. Statistics, a number or an amount compared to an earlier number, statistic, the amount of the same thing, played a part in investigations, statistics. So we have to study statistics. What is statistics? Statistics is a number or amount compared to an earlier number. That's the statistics, right? You're comparing numbers. The statistics of I had 3 apples here and then I got 5 apples. What's the statistic of that? Is that 3 became 5 because 2 was added on when you investigate because 2 apples. Now you say, oh, where did I get those 2 apples? Then you go into another area. But that's statistics. It shows the production of an activity, area, or an organization. It shows the production and compares to early moments in time. You know what I'm saying? It reflects whether or not the area is achieving its purpose. So statistics are increasing. It is more closely accomplishing what is intended for the area because things should be getting bigger, not smaller in any organization. That's an investigation. Okay, I just wanted to mention that. But for these type of narrative that we're engaging in during the week, I'm saying, these introductions I'm giving, the only statistic analytical work that will be done will be on my part when I look into, if I do a quiz or a test, or I look into my YouTube, analytics in there. They give me statistics in there and watching on what's happening. I can do that. Peace to Haka. Peace. So that's statistic. So in doing an investigation, you look for statistics that are going down. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Why is my membership, or why is my my circle's getting smaller? I don't know. Yeah. We just leave that one to that. Things don't make sense, of course, if you question the people that are responsible for the production that the statistics measure. So you got to go out the box. Okay. Well, we're not going to go talk about that now. Okay. So the way there's a graph, right? I'm going to share this graph with you right now. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Just bring up something in here. Yeah. See that? You got facts and facts when they both collide. The contradiction. There's a contradiction because this person bringing their half truth and this person is bringing their half truth. So it clashes. It contradicts. So that's when we have to ask questions. And when you're engaging in anybody, that's when questions. If you look at some of those podcasts I've done with discussions with certain people online, you see that questions, you have to ask questions because that question leads you to some type of fact that's not understood. Something is not understood. That's why you have that contradiction. There's something not understood. So you have to the question again. and keep asking the questions. And then you get a fact, and then you got to see, do you understand where that's coming from, and on and on and on. And you keep questioning, getting these facts, right? And if it's not understood, you question again. If it's not, that's not understood, you question again, and you keep questioning until you get to the real reason. So you got a person with a half truth, no person with a half truth. Get into discussion. There's a contradiction. So now you got a question. And that question has to lead to a cause of fact. But if you don't understand that, you have to keep questioning until you get question until you get to the real reason behind it. I hope that's understood. I know that's understood. 1970 background year. See, yeah, that in the 1970s, 1980. Yep, this is what went down in New York. Yep, it's a fact. You know, so we discussed the investigation. You know, so and to put it in another way, to give you a clear picture, the skill is doing this investigation is like finding a piece of string sticking out, right? Something you can't understand. Why is this string sticking out? And by questioning, pull on the string. As you pull, a small cat shows up. You pull on the string by asking more questions, and a baby gorilla shows up. Then you pull more and more, and a tiger appears. Now you pull again, and wow, you got a General Sherman tank, a large, powerful tank named after famous general, right? That is what you're looking for. The real reason for the difficulty that you want to solve. That's I don't know. That's a very poor example that they give you here. But again, the example I use again is the cart, the wheel. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, you get down, you investigate your wheels, and you find out, or you investigate your car, you go under the hood, you ask question, what is it? What's going on here that's out of place? What is not? First of all, you hear something sometimes. So investigation also uses your senses. You got to use your senses, your hearing, your seeing, your sensing, right? And then we talk about intuition some other time. But you're knowing something not right in this car, you know. So you start investigating. You start asking questions. What's going on? What I'm not understanding about this? Okay, I can't brake. Okay, so I gotta look at my brake system. So I gotta look at my brake fluid, my brake system. I have to investigate, know, and try to find out things I don't know. So maybe it's going to a manual and find out that it's got a brake line. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. Or if it is a hose, it's leaking brake fluid. You know what I'm saying? You investigate, you look around the car, you see something leaking out, right? That's investigative work. And then as you start fixing it, you can fix the problem. You can fix the problem. There's always a reason behind a bad statistic or bad condition. You know what I'm saying? So we already know that. You know. Anyway, that's now. I just want to do two more. I'm gonna talk about logic because remember, what is logic? What it means, right? So the subject of logic has been talked about for 3,000 years without any major advances happening that would have made it the subject easy to everyone to use. That's because you haven't studied Nupu. When you study Nupu, it deals a lot with sound right reasoning, and then logic, right? Means the subject of reasoning, which is thinking about facts. You're thinking about facts, ideas, and making the correct decision from them. That's logic, right? But if you look at a dictionary, let me look up the word logic. Let me define it with a dictionary sense, because like that, we're not only relying on what we logic. Logic. I'm gonna bring it up. Share my screen. Share my screen. You're still there, right? Yeah, you're still there. Do this. Okay. Logic is a noun. Logic, reasoning conducted or assessed according to strict principle of validity. Okay. Experience is better guide to this than deductive logic. Okay. That's the logic of the argument in faulty. Okay. A particular system, logical system, a codification of the principles of proof and inference. We're not going to go into that because that's Aristotelian. And then we're going to have to look up the word codification. We have to look up the word inference. We're not going to do that. So let's go to the next one. The systematic use of symbolic and mathematical techniques. That's also logic in math to determine the forms of valid deductive arguments. And they use this a lot in mathematics and algebra and trigonometry and geometry when you do solving problem solving, right? The quality of being justifiable by reason. You know what I'm saying? That's logic. What's the logic of it? You justify yourself by using the reason, by taking the steps and you put it in a sequence, right? The logic of the course of action, right? Line of reasoning suggested or made necessary by. So that's the logic of things. So it is a noun. It's late Middle English and from Old French, logique, and late Latin, logica. From Greek, art, reason. From, look at this word, logos. Logos mean word and reason. So when you deal with logic, you're dealing with a bunch of words that is systematically could be put in a specific order that reason has created. Your sense of reasoning had created a specific order of words, right? And gave it its logic, its logical sense. So you say, well, that makes logical sense. So then you have logical fallacies. There's another systems that are words or the uses of words and statement that are faulty in reasoning. It doesn't add up. You know what I'm saying? Those like those false analogies, right? The pro sequiturs and the hasty generalizations in a discussion doesn't add up. Does not add up ad hominem because you're using a sequence of words to deter me to think of something different when we should be thinking about the same subject. So you're using this faulty reasoning and it's not making sense to what we're speaking about. So that's when it comes into logical fallacies. Very, very interesting. You know, so logic again, according to the thesaurus, which is a great, great book. You should always have a thesaurus next to you because in college, that's what in university, that's what we had a dictionary and a thesaurus. And if you look at this, it gives you definitions of a more in-depth reason of the word logic. Talk about reason, judgment, logical thought, rationality, cognition. I want to home in that word cognition because in the class today we talk about metacognition and also cognitive dissonance. And we also, right? Cognizant, cognition means also awareness. When you and the thing is, when you look at the word cognition, you also see that it's related to the word recognize. It's pronounced differently. Recognize, right, means again, to again familiarize yourself with something. Again, I recognize that because you in the past had that experience, you recognize it. So cognition is to not recognize, cognition is the awareness. An awareness of something, you know? The awareness of sound judgment, a sense, a good sense, a common sense. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to mention some of these words here and relevance. I'm not going to mention some of these words because then we will have to look them up. I want to be fair. So it's reasoning, the line of reasoning, chain of reasoning, process of reasoning, argument, argumentation. right? The study of logic is the science of reasoning, right? Science of deduction, science of thought, dialectics, argumentations, and ratiocination. Man, if you look at the thesaurus, then this is what you're going to read in the dictionary. So you get any idea about reasoning. Logic deals a lot with reasoning, conducting a certain amount of reasoning in a specific sequence order. According to a strict principle. Okay, that's logic. And the reason why I brought that up is because we're discussing about what logic is. Simply logic. So simply logic is the study of how ideas and facts are combined in a way that makes sense to explain things, as well as the ability to do this. Over the century, there has been people who have called logic a science. Well, we just read it, the science of logic, right? Which is the science of reasoning. That, however, according to this narrative, says it doesn't make sense because an actual science is an organized, precise, and complete study of a subject that is done in order to prove and disprove existing ideas, discovers new truth, and develop new ideas by applying the information in ways that are agreed upon to see that what works. Excuse me. Oh, just got something to eat, drink. I mean, so there's a little what some people call. Excuse me one second. So here, as I'm saying, you have to investigate everything you read. Everything you read. You know what I'm saying? That's the method that I'm using, even when I read something like this. Because we talk about the science of reasoning. Is that a science? Right? Is it actual science? Is it organized? There is an organized way of reasoning. There is an organized way of reasoning. There is an organized way of putting the pieces of the puzzles together. Precise, right? You can study the subject of reasoning. That's, again, metacognition, right? That's metaphysics. Reasoning these things out, right? So, yes, you could prove or disprove existing ideas. You can discover new truth. You can develop ideas by applying information in ways that are agreed upon to see what works. That's a science. That has become a science, a particular sense that we have to put things together and discover new truth. So that's what I'm saying. I don't believe everything that I read. I try to investigate why I don't know about this. Then on the other hand, I could look about this and says, well, according to certain schools of thoughts, then the science of reasoning, Nupu, would not apply to them. Would not apply. That is the missing element in a lot of these schools. That's the missing element. They don't have that. And you see, that's the Now Valley teachings. The civilization was way, way ahead, or even by today's standards. So if logic really was a science, people will be able to think, but people can't think logically. What? Got to be very, very careful what you read. So I'm here to tell you this. There's a method behind reading behind something. So I'm glad I'm revisiting this lesson because it's like, yo, there's a lot being said here that, I'm not a complicit person, to be honest with you, to just anything. Like I said, investigative work, man. Look at it. And the science, Now Valley science, is where I'm coming from. Indigenous science, Taino science. And science is ability to sense, common sense that makes sense to an indigenous person, a sense that makes sense to an African, or even we go to Europe. What makes sense for a European doesn't make sense for an African. So just to study all those would be considered to be a science because you organize it. There's certain methods that you can use to study that. That's what I said in university psychology. There's the lab work, and a lot of times it's done by surveys. So to say that logic, is not a science, well, is not the ability to reason. It actually cannot be a science. It's a little misleading. Misleading for me. It's misleading. So yeah, Tahaka, I'm gonna do that one day. Now let me just read a little bit here from my Facebook. Tahaka Rahubat, my brother. He said, oh yeah, I'm gonna, yeah. I don't know. I'll pick a day where we could just do all music and bomba and from Loisa and how it leads back to the Congo. Yeah, as a matter of fact, today is it today? Oh man, I don't know. I think I missed it. What time is it? Ah man, today was a great panel conference that my brother Dimas, if it's today or maybe might not be today, but he do a panel where he's bringing in Congo from the Congo to Zumbamba, and he does a lot of work like that because he's very into the bomba from the Cepedas, Dimas Sanchez. Gotta look him up, and Tobos Lumbamba from the Congo, and they've done something together, and that's the work that they're doing now. Is they're seeing how the rhythms are very very relatable. Yep. Critical thinking and proper application of reasonability. Right, critical thinking, but then you also have paradoxical thinking. You know, paradoxical thinking, and then you have what they call transcendental mind and thinking, but that's a different conversation. Okay. So I don't want to keep it going on. So unlocking logic. So there's different schools of thought out here, man. You know what I'm saying? And I try to look into everything and I try to get to the core of it. What is, Scientology, Dianetics, and Scientology? And then you look at their schools of thought. So a lot of these 19 courses are coming from the Scientology school of thought, these courses. But like I said, I have to be very, very careful because I try very much to always keep the thought in mind. It's like, okay, what I know about this, and what can I find out about it? How can I go, you know, investigative work with questions? What I don't understand about this? What's going on here? So that leads me into different, patterns of thinking. You know what I'm saying? Now, don't get it twisted. Some people said, oh, that's cognitive dissonance. That lowers your cognitive dissonance. To your cognizance, what you want me to think about and be aware of, to you. But it could be my ascension as a being in humanity. It could be my ascension. Again, can dissonance and ascension exist? They could occupy a different space, but can they exist in the same time? Constantly got to ask ourselves those questions when we come to contradictions. Always ask those questions and look at it. Can they exist at the same time? Because we talking about space, matter, and time. Can it exist at the same time? Can somebody's dissonance be another person's ascension? And as you descend, can you also be ascending? When you look at certain geographical graphs, right? You go to the earth, you descend to the earth, you're going to be ascending on the other side. If you believe that the world is still round, even if it's flat. If you go into the core of the earth, no matter where you go, you're going to come out on the other side. You're going to be ascending on the other side. You know what I'm saying? That's unlocking logic. You know? So by establishing Making something clear and recognize the way in which things become logical, one can then establish what is logic. So you can see the logic in things by determining what is logical, what makes sense, what's common sense at the same time, what is falling in order here. What is falling in order? Something has to be falling in order here. Something has to be getting that succession, that order. It has to all fit perfectly. Encajar junto. So if one have an understanding what makes things illogical, I read this wrong. The way in which things become illogical, one can then establish what is logic. So you're looking at one and the other by finding out what's illogical, then you can determine what is logic and what is logical. So what makes things illogical, irrational, crazy is then possible to think of what makes things logical. So you're looking at, again, the dichotomy of that, right? That should be a dimension in the mind because it's measurable. Logical and illogical. You can measure that. Anything that's measurable in your mind or measurable in physics or metaphysics becomes a dimension. So there are exact way when people pass on information and make situation known to other for it to become illogical. There are things which cause you to have an incorrect idea of a situation. So we got to be very careful what we read because there are certain things in there, certain information that there's misinformation. There's something missing in there, right? That doesn't add up. It's logical, it's missing, it's a break, it's a crack in that line of thinking that creates an illogical situation. That can cause you, there are things that cause you to have this incorrect idea of a situation. So you have to find that out. Each different way. Okay, so I don't want to go into that. Omitted data. Again, that's the misinformation is omitted data. You know what I'm saying? There's a missed information. There's missed informing somebody. You're omitting data. It's left out. It's not mentioned. It's not present. That's an out point. That we got to look at when communicating, when having, is there information that's being omitted here? When you're looking again under the hood, is there something that's missing here, omitted, that doesn't add up? Yep. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of mental barriers causing people to, yeah. And now, and I speak for myself. I'll speak for my experiences. You know what I'm saying? There were barriers there that stopped me, blocked me from achieving certain things and from learning certain things because again, I wasn't aware of a lot of things. But as I'm learning here, I'm sharing it with you so that we can learn together. We can learn together. And now, I come to realize that it's there's a truth to that when you look at that there are things illogics. They're things that can cause you to have an incorrect idea of a situation. You know that? And we see that happening with Pat Nabaya, in the case and all that. There's certain things that doesn't add up. You know what I'm saying? There's incorrect ideas of a situation because there's things that can do that. There's narratives that people can do that. Again, omitted data. This can be an omitted person in a situation. You know what I'm saying? Like you have a conflict with your mate or somebody and you try to find a third party involved in it. That's an omitted person, right? So you got to do investigation, find the omitted data. Object, energy, space, time, form, sequence, even an omitted scene. Something is omitted. Anything that can be omitted that should be there is an outpost. That's what they call an outpost. But we're not going to outpoint. I'm sorry, outpoint. But we're not going to go there. Identify certain things like that into later on in classes and stuff like that. Right. Alter sequences is one very common. So what is a sequence? It's the order in which things happens. Okay. That's why I said when I did the podcast about the order, Sons of the Grand, there's a sequence of things that needs to happen. And Freemasonry needs to happen. You know, something follows one thing after the another in a logical order. It has a significance. It has a logical order, a significance that why these sequences are the way they are, right? Anything, event, object, sign in a wrong sequence can become an outpoint, can become a problem. Anything, any event, object, size, anything in a wrong sequence, in the order. When y'all here initiating, anything out of sequence becomes a problem for us. There's no order, there's no sequence, there's no rite of passage. Like the series of number 3, 7, 1, 2, 4, 6, 5 is an altered sequence or incorrect sequence. The correct sequence would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then people say, well, according to who? According to thousands of years of people making sense and agreeing on one reality. That 1 is followed by 2, and 2 is followed by 3, and 3 is followed by 4, on and on and on. That's a representation of that. Doing step 2 of a sequence of action before doing step 1 can be counted as to confuse a sequence of action. So people do a sequence and they'll jump to, let's say you're a Mason, or you say you're a Mason, but you jumping and you're becoming a master Mason, but you never become an enter apprentice. Yeah, Tahaka. That's the that's the science of the Wahab. A sacred science that is practiced in the Nile Valley, and your pharaohs, who were also your high priests, Hierophant, were also your warriors. They taught in the temple, and they taught the science of, again, the science of reasoning, this Nupu, the science of making sense, using that capability, that sense, right? The transcendental mind, and also the sense, that sense you have, the sensibility, common sense, sensibility, because you're making sense of your environment, everything that you are experiencing, and everything that you're viewing your environment. You're looking at it, right? You're experimenting, and you're looking at it, you're making sense out of it. And then you see how that relates to the stars, and how that relates to the humanity, to your tribe, to your family. You're seeing a connection, and that is the all expanding. You're seeing this connection, you know? So the very basic outness to have no sequences at all, like when outness is a condition or state of something being incorrect, out of place. Outness, right, is out of place. So is to have no sequence at all. That's a basic outness. This causes people to have fixed ideas, which are ideas and belief that the person has and will not change. There are people that will not change, because the very basic of that is an outness, a condition, a state of something being incorrect, wrong, or missing information. I have discussion with pastors. They're missing certain information. And most of the time, the information that they're missing is now Valley information. They cannot make the comparison between a culture that existed 4,000 years prior to the culture of the Romans that's telling the story, but the culture is of the Nile Valley, Haru, right? So they fix on the idea of Jesus Christ, but they can't see Haru. Missing. And I you know what I'm saying? I see this This is rampant, especially out in the UK, where a lot of groups, and my brother was telling me, they're missing that. They will not change, you know. And so when they develop these, when someone has a very bad feeling towards another group, religion, or race, just because they are different, this person is not able to look at each person and see them as they are. Instead, he holds on to his fixed ideas and feels hate. He can't change, cannot change. See this manifesting a lot. So you see this is also a condition, excuse me, that is called disassociation and insanity, where a person thinks things are different from what they are and thinks and thinks some things that have nothing to do with each other are the same. You see that? That's disassociation. Such a person does not connect his thoughts and words to his actual surrounding. This type of person also jump around and change from subject to subject that have nothing to do with one another and in no obvious sequence. So in an investigative work, you have to know these things. You're asking questions and you have to know these things, these ideas and concepts. This type of person who disassociate is a very extreme example where things that have something to do with another are not seen by this person, or the actual things that don't have anything to do with another are thought to have something similar. You see that a lot. That's a logical fallacy. That's what they call the false analogy, or what they call red herring, is it? So sequence means linear in a line, travel either through space or time. That's sequence, right? It's a sequence. But then we're talking about reasons different. It's circular. But we'll talk about that some other time. So right now we're going to just concentrate on the sequence that should be one or isn't and outpost. Like a cart before the horse is out of sequence. That's an outpost. Doesn't make sense. Why the cart would be ahead of the horse when it's the horse that's driving the cart? It's out of sequence. So there's people that can't see that. You know that? They're disassociated themselves. So anyway. So if you practice visualizing sequences of how things sequence and how they work, and you study the order of things logically, and you see it, that's now Valley Science, Nupu. That's getting to the origin of things. That's investigating, getting to the origin, seeing how the sequence, step by step, of how that happened. So you practice visualizing your sequence, and you drill changing your attention. You can straighten this out and restore it as an ability. An ability. Sound right reason, Nupu. Practice and seeing how things falls in order even around your home. You know what I'm saying? You got drop time is another. So, in investigation, when you have problems, when to unlocking logic, you have problems. You have illogic, right? Things that are illogical. Give me 1 second, yo. and share it if you can. So having a discussion here about investigation. How when you investigate things, right, it's to knowing, and then you have to look at the logic of the sequences of things. How does it make sense? A logical order, right? This is now Valley teaching. You know what I'm saying? One day I'm going to bring some of that up of how the high priest or the Wahab priest in ancient Kemet or Nile Valley, how they taught their students. It taught their students certain rituals or certain techniques of how to learn about the science of reasoning, Nupu. For instance, the question that was asked when you enter into the Sphinx, the pyramid, was what crawls on all four, then crawls on two, then on three. When you answer that and you say, man, it makes sense because the sequences, a man, a woman, a human, is a baby. It crawls on all fours, right? To walk before it does it crawls. Then it starts to learn how to walk on two. Then when they get to an older age, eldership, they walk with a cane. Where is my cane? Oh, my cane. I got my cane over there. Priests walked with a cane, a staff. You know? So that's the sequence of things. If you disassociate yourself, oh yeah, walk on two and then it walks on four. No, it walks on two and then it walks on three and then it walks. You take it out of sequence, you disassociate yourself. So the priest had to see, is this a logical person? Makes sense out of it. Man, walks on all four, then on two, then on three. Something simple as that, you see? And there are other, man. Panabayananin, a master teacher of this day and time, taught us about all different questions that was asked in order to gain entrance into the school of thought, the pyramid schools. And we also did the same thing. We had to go to different schools. There's a booklet called Mum's the Word. Mum's the Word. Tells you of the different schools and what you had to logically, sequencing, had to see the order of things. Very powerful. So an investigation is knowing again. You know what I'm saying? They spoke about in the class about the metacognition, metacognition, mental cognition, and also cognitive dissonance. Metacognition is thinking about thinking. Can you think about thinking? Yes, you can have a conversation about how to think. That's what we're doing. This is what this is. A meta in the metaverse, because we're in the internet right now. We're in the metaverse right now, right? The beginning of the metaverse, still the 2.0, right? What's in the beginning, right? We're not in virtual reality. Well, we are into virtual sort of like reality because it's how you were dialoguing right now. So we can have a conversation about that. Meta, we're in the metaverse right now. Having a discussion or a conversation about metacognition, which is thinking about thinking. We're thinking about thinking. In our minds, we're putting things in sequence. But Silos is saying, you think about it, you think of put it in sequence and help us think more logically. help us think more logically, helps me think more logically. It helps me be around people that are more sensible. You know what I'm saying? That there's not a lot of insanity going on. It's sensible, able to recognize it. And I'm saying that, I don't discredit or don't speak to anybody insanity person, but it's kind of difficult to have a conversation with somebody that's insane, right? Difficult unless you talk that language. See, I could talk that language. I feed myself through my ear. I could speak that language. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, an investigation. It's investigation just means knowing, and that's part of knowing. When you want to know something, you have to investigate. You got to ask certain questions, and then of course you come into what different when you unlocking logic. You have to think about illogics. The illogical part, because in knowing the illogical part, learning about logical fallacies, you're able to see the true logics. Logic. You have to also be aware of omitted data. What data is being omitted here? What place is not mentioned? What person is not mentioned? You know what I'm saying? So there's different things. Alter sequence. You know what that means? When the sequence, the order thing is alter. Yeah. So you investigate that and you see that. Drop time, when time should be noted and it isn't, would be in when time should be noted when it is not. It's called a drop time. Drop time can also have strangely dangerous effect that adds up to complete lunacy. When drop time, it's like some event, something timely is dropped. It's like boom, you're knocked out. Boom, you lose control. You get up. You walk. You're trying to regain your cognizance. You know what I'm saying? You drop time. Very dangerous. You know. So in case of a madman, yeah, the presence is drop time. You got people also that, like another conversation, I just use an example of a brother that he's stuck on narrative that's from the 1600s and the 1700s. So every time he have a discussion with me and bring something up, he's always referring back to the 1600s, you know, right? And the narratives and the information from the 1600s. But I'm like, yo, but we're in 2022. We've learned a lot from the 1600s. You're talking about 800 years. I mean, close to almost 800 years, bro. What's going on? That's why it's very difficult to have conversation with people that are in the biblical narrative, because that Bible, the King James Bible, that's why yesterday that it was very interesting that this brother Vocab Malone, this person, brought up the new Bible, new translations, and he says we're modern times. So he says I don't prescribe to the King James Bible because it's a Bible that was written in 1611 from 15 or 1611. So there are people still stuck on that. Still stuck. It's good to know the past, but only to know how much has you have achieved and has changed. Changed. And people say things have not really changed. Change is constant in the universe. You can't stop that. Things are still again, out of sequence, drop time. Very, very careful. You know? Yeah. So they call that illogicalities is time aberrations. That's drop time. That's a person that are not taking into account the sequence again of time. You know what I'm saying? And the time that they're at, they're not in. They're still living. You know what I'm saying? Falsehood is another one. When you hear two facts that are contrary, one is false. One doesn't just fit into the perfect, to the paradigm, to the picture of all. It doesn't fit in one of them. Or they can both not be fitting in to the puzzle. That's falsehood. False is the opposite of is division, whereas truth is unity. Everything perfectly fit together like in a puzzle. Propaganda that's information rumors that are often untrue. Propaganda and other activity deal especially in falsehood and cause a lot of disturbance and upset. Propaganda. You know, the Germans under Hitler was very huge on that. And you see that also in today, propaganda in the news. You know what I'm saying? Whether it is done on purpose or not, falsehood, it's a problem. It may be a mistake or carefully thought out falsehood. Or one said it to protect something or someone, but it is still not right. It's still a little dangerous. It's still a problem that I have to lie in order to protect you. That's still a problem somewhere online. That's still a problem. A false anything fits in this category. A false person, an action, an intention, anything that tries to be something other than what it really actually is false. It causes a division. It doesn't add up. Because when you look at the humanity as a whole and you try to divide that, right? It doesn't fit in. You try to divide it, and then guess what? That's propaganda. A lot of us are subtly, subliminally guilty of that. And we have to be aware of that because it can, you know what I'm saying? We have to be aware of that in other things and other subjects and other things if we want to do this investigation. Okay? Alter importance, whether the importance of something is changed from its actual importance. Give it more important than what it really is, or you diminish its importance. Made to look or seem better, or it's made to seem worse. That's a problem. When you try to diminish somebody's importance or an importance of a certain subject, that's a problem. So that has to be investigated. So something could be given an importance greater than it actually has. That's a problem. There are times a number of things of different importance can be given the same level of importance. Like they all the same importance. But that creates another problem that needs to be investigated. Right? You got wrong target. That's another one. When someone makes a mistake while trying to achieve something, such as thinking he or she should be going towards A and find he or she should be going towards B. A problem. I'm wrong target. The wrong target. You're targeting the wrong person. I've seen that happen a lot. You get into a conversation, the person is targeting. There's a wrong target, in the discussion, they're targeting. And you see this happen with Panabab. You're having a conversation with people about doctrine, and immediately they bring up the wrong target. You know what I'm saying? They got to bring something else. They pick a wrong, narrative. You know what I'm saying? This is a commonly mistake in correcting and naming who and what particular person thinks actually is. There's also purposes and goals that a person is wrong about. If they're wrong about a purpose or a goal, they're not sticking to the goal. They're not sticking to that purpose. It becomes a wrong target. And when you investigate into certain conditions and problems, sometimes there can be a wrong target involved. Wrong source or source. You know what a source is, right? It's the other side of the coin of a wrong target. It's the wrong source. So the wrong target doesn't go to the source. It just goes at something else, another goal. But now when you get the wrong source, if you home in on the goal and the purpose and the source of it, but it says the wrong source. Which something comes or starts from as an opposed to a target. You're sourcing up, but you're giving me the wrong sources. Even though you're sourcing up, you're giving me the wrong sources because it's opposed to the target, the discussion that we're having. You know, contrary facts is one. This logic could also be called falsehood since one of the statements must be false. And added time, when people add more time to things that is not supposed to be there. You know, added in inapplicable data just because there's added data information reports if someone does not necessarily mean, but someone's trying to be thorough when and there's data that is not necessary to the current scene or situation. It's just added. It's added data. It's not implicable. That's a problem. So when you do when you're investigating certain things, you're looking at these things, right? Incorrectly included datum, you know, you got admit again data information, and then the handling data, mishandling the data can give you a completely false picture of things. You mishandle the data, bro. Yeah, so you're giving a wrong data. You know what I'm saying? So when you investigate things, you look into these things and you see it, and you see, does this apply? Is someone handling the data wrong? You know, and you see this happen. This is a frustration. Yeah, yeah. You think he's trapped, but we need to bring him. If he's trapped in the 1600, he needs to be brought to the 2022, to the present. It's the now. The now is what's important. The now, you know, use and so, plus points and so and so. Um, so when you investigating something and you have related facts that are known, that's a plus for you. Events in its correct sequence, that's another plus. Time noted, that's a plus. Data proven factual, it's a plus. Correct relative importance, good. Expected time period, adequate data, applicable data, correct source, correct target, data in same classification, identities are identical, similarities are similar, and differences are different. Those are plus. Mm. So you can always know something about anything. It is a wise man who, when confronted with data that is conflicting, realizes that he knows at least one thing that he doesn't know. Standing to reason that he can take actions to find out. Damn, I don't know. Let me find out. It's conflicting there, data. I don't know. Let me see what I can find out. If he evaluates the data, he does find out against the things above that he can clarify situation. Then he can reach a logical conclusion. See, that's walking with an extra stick. You smell me? You smell me? The same applies for you. By using this information, you can make things go right. Look at these these problematic, what we discuss, and then look at the good stuff, the plus points. It's necessary to work out your own example of violation of logic, describing, it's look at it where you are violating the sequence. Look where you're violating logic. That's important. I try to do that all the time because I saying I want to learn. I want to find out things I don't know, and I want to make sure that I'm being truthful. I want to make sure that I'm shook and I'm expanding, ascending with truth, ascending, right? By doing so, you will have gained skill in sorting out the data of a situation. When you concentrate, when you take this and learn about the examples of things in your life things that are out of sequence and learn this in your life, right? And making that change, you now, you're learning how to sort out data in all different subjects. These skills could be applied to different scenarios. When you can sort out data and become skilled in it, you will become very difficult to fool. It'll be hard to fool you, and you will have taken the first vital step in grasping a correct estimate of any situation. You know, very, very important. I'm gonna leave it there. How long I've been here? See, anybody got any questions? Nothing. Mi hermano, sí lo conga. Thank you very much, man. I hope not to bore anybody here, but I appreciate you all. Zaid, Common Man, what's going on? Bond Dog, my Bond Dog, Boricua, Bond Dog, yes. And Tahaka Moon, man, great. What are some good references, tools, and books about this topic of courses? Well, we're just gonna have to just go back into Nupu Science, the Wapu book. I'll get some together. If you come from the paradigm, the Wapian paradigm, there are some books that the Wapian master teacher had authored, had published. Then there are books on deductive reasoning, inductive reasoning that I can also present to you. I'll give you a list of those. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of, if you want to learn it, but the best thing to do is also to look at your life too, and look at the sequence of things and see what's out of order. Learn and experimentation experiences of firsthand goes a lot. Yeah, my brother. Glad to see everybody here. Like I said, I don't teach anybody. I'm learning just as you. I'm just sharing. I like the class. I'm the type of classroom where we get together, right? Because I had classes like this at NYU. The teacher would sit down with us in a circle, and we would learn. And she said, "I'm also learning, but here's the methods that we're going to use in order to learn. There are methods that you use in order to learn. Remember the technology of study. We looked at that one. There's other methods, and that's the Wapians, the Sabiic. There's ways. Right now, I'm really looking into learning the Sabiic language. There's ways that I have to go about it in order to learn how this language works. I had to first get into the historicity of the language and to see how it relates to Mande and the Ma Confederation, right, which is the Fish Confederation, and the Oanian culture. I had to go way back and not to get stuck there, just so that I can move forward to the present now and say, wow, this language consists of a very ancient language that predates Kemet. People think the first form of writing, right, actually was the hieroglyphics. No, it was not. Even when you go to South Africa, no, it was not. It was not. Actual form of writing. That came by way of the Ma Confederation, and that came by way of Kush and the Sabiic and the Kush. One of the oldest glyphs that are found in stones are those Sabiic stones. And here you see the Shabaka stones. You see some certain glyphs, the Shabaka stone had more hieroglyphics. You know what I'm saying? Right. Let me correct myself there. But you see other stones in that area, in the Nile Valley, in Ethiopia, especially in the Nile Valley and in Sudan. And then when you look at other glyphs that are found throughout Sahara, the Sahara Desert, which at one time was the Green Sahara, you're looking at many of those glyphs that predates sections in India, predates Samaria, and predates Egypt. Look into that. The Ma Confederation, Fish Confederation, look into that. They're finding bones Neo-Sahara, bones that predates Lucy from Ethiopia. the Homo erectus. You got the Homo habilis, yeah, Australopithecus, the Neanderthal. You know what I'm saying? The Homo erectus. You have all these different primates, but then you have the Homo sapiens sapien. And when you go back into archaeology, anthropology, and then go into archaeology, which is almost the same, very, very, very close to each other. You see these bones, and I'm gonna want to have that discussion. I'm gonna save that for Monday, for Historical Monday. I'm gonna bring those facts about the old, and then you're looking at this confederation. You're looking about Saba, the seven kingdoms are spread out, and the early form of writing predates cuneiform. We're going to talk about that in another section. Yeah, man has drawn animals and drawn. You see that in the cave walls in Sahara Desert and the Green Sahara. You see all that in throughout Africa, but they're actually writing glyphs is what I'm talking about. You know, so when you look into the writings and you look into, we're gonna do another study on that about how inspiration and revelation can be our teachers also. What they call spirit beings. And genetically also, we're encoded with certain knowledge, innate knowledge. We know the first time we come out to suck on a teta for us and gain certain, we know that. We know how to cut up, so there's certain things that we're born with, innate knowledge. But there's other information in there that's the information that gives us the ability to connect with everything around us and how we connect with everything around us. That's information. It's knowledge. Seba Silos, Saba Silos. I appreciate that, Mando. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. And so what we discussed today is about investigation and how to investigate and what to look out for when you're investigating, right? The omitted data, I got to bring it up again. All those, the added time, the contrary facts, the wrong source, the wrong target. On contrary to that, we want to look at, make sure we got related facts that are known, related facts that we can, see events in the correct sequence. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got people that says, oh yeah, the Afroasiatics say, oh, it was the people in the Levant and the Sumerian and the people that came into Africa and brought those glyphs, those Monday glyphs. Because if you look at the Monday glyph, you see a lot of what they call Paleo Hebrew and different other Gaga has and different scripts. But here's the thing. That's reversing the events of sequence, because when you look at the archaeology and anthropology, that sort of they call it an out of Africa theory, but it's out of the cradle theory, I says. And the cradle of civilizations and the cradle of humanity, when you trace everything back archaeologically, you trace everything back anthropology, right? You look at it and you look back at it, paleoanthropology, and you look back at it, you see that it's coming from a direction. It has a sequence. A sequence, time noted. Data proven factual, correct relative importance, expected time period, adequate data, applicable data, correct source, correct target, right? So these are skills that are taught in our rally and with Nupu skills. This is just a more modern version of it. But when you go into Nupu, we're going to discuss about sound right reason and how that particular sequence run. You know, when you have the collection of knowledge, you collect your facts, your knowledge, right? You collect it, right? Then you look at it, you stand over and you see, well, okay, this doesn't add up. You put it in sequence, the knowledge that you collected, or the facts, or the idea and content that you collected, right? This specimen that you collected, you put it in order, right? That's standing to reason. That's standing, overstanding things. That's understanding. You gain all these understanding until you could gain this overstanding. And then that standing in reason says, I collected this information. Now I see how the sequence work. And I put it together this way, right? When I've got that, now let me see how this is applicable. Where can I find that this has been applicable in the past through my elders? Or how can I make it applicable? Why experimentation? What can I do? Or what experience have I done that tells me that this information I collected and that I put in the sequence is the right sequence because it's beneficial. I walk the walk. Okay. That's how we obtain sound right reasoning. We experiment, okay, we collect the information, right? And we put it in sequence as to understand its logical order, time order and logical order, and then we experiment. We do things with it. That's wisdom. So we can learn what's right and wrong in the history, in that thing. What's the right way of doing this? What's the wrong way of doing it? What's the logical way? What's the logics of this, and what's the illogic? What doesn't make sense here? What's inappropriate here? That's our science, and that's how we've been taught. That's our science in the Nile Valley, and that's our science at Panabayanan taught us from so many years. And these skills he applied, and you can see it, putting things in its proper order and stuff like that. But knowing, but then that's another conversation. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it there, y'all. Thank you very much, everybody. Got one comment here. Why was the first writing in our motherland? Well, when you say writing, what you mean? Writing like in a script, an actual script form in the motherland? Script that in recorded, that we can find recorded on stones, is that Sabiic script, inscription from Nubia, Saba, and Kush. One of the oldest writing. Now, if you're talking about picture writing, drawing, and artwork, South Africa. South Africa. Mathematical writing, South Africa, but also Semidia. Because that's what you're looking at, cuneiform or sticks and stuff. That's an accounting form of writing. The Sabiic are those circles and all those different angles are the stars, the graphing of the stars, and connecting the dots and coming out with certain glyphs. And then, of course, you know about the hieroglyphics, which is called the metaneta or the medal nataru, which is the priestly writing. It's the way they hid their lessons are hidden within those glyphs because they had to protect it. You know what I'm saying? They had to protect those nature sciences. Nature science is being protected by those glyphs. But they call them medal natar, natar, the priestly writings. They hid their, their sciences and their communication, their sciences, nature, their environment, I mean, through that particular artwork, drawing. And then later on, of course, there are people that say that they created a language out of that. That those forms became, and it comes out of South Africa, though. The first forms of Amun and so all of that come from South Africa. Then as it go up to the Nile, yeah, they started to create um, glyphs that were to protect the narrative. But then, you know, they were other people that came into the Nile that took those glyphs and created a what they call their writing, their glyphs, their writing. So they gave a sound, like this is the end sound or the ch sound or the different sound. Hold on a second. You know, so yeah. So I'm gonna leave it here right now. You're welcome, Bondo. You're welcome. Yeah. So if you look at the first form of actual writing glyphs and stuff like that, yeah, the oldest stone are found in Kush, Ethiopia, and Yemen, and those areas because those people travel from the Maka Federation. They travel to Samaria. They travel all over. So you could see a connection. You could see some of those glyphs found in many different places. You know what I'm saying? You could find that. You was wrong about what, Zayd? About Arabic? Arabic is another form of Semitic, but if you look at the Arabic glyphs, turn it upside down. You're looking at Hindu glyphs. Yeah. But remember the connection. The connection. Arabic is Afro is Asiatic also. You know what I'm saying? It's also Afro Asiatic. It was easy. Yeah. Yeah. You know. So, but according to archaeology, anthropology, archaeology, according to the findings that they're finding now throughout the Nile Valley and areas in the Sahara, they're looking at these glyphs and the oldest glyphs, yeah, that they can see on stones. I mean, they got some in Sahara and those caves, and then you do see some of those letterings, man, the Mande and those lettering that even translate goes into the Nile Valley and goes into Yemen and the southern part of Saudi Arabia, all the way into Iran and Iraq. To be honest with you. So yeah, pictographs from Africa. Yeah, they were pictoglyph. They told the experiences, and you write it. It's like art. Tell the experiences and on and on and on. But they were so in tune with nature that they did the experience and stuff like that. And it could have been used as a teaching method. They're teaching young ones, and look, they draw it on the cave, and yeah, this is us when we were here, and this and that, and showed it on glyphs. It was a pictograph, iconography. And the same thing happens when they go up to the Nile. You see this played in, you see this in in Meroe, temples in Meroe, and you go up the Nile in Napata, and you see this throughout the Nile Valley all the way into Kemet. You know, and then when the Greeks came in there, they started doing more. They're the one that actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think they under the Ptolemy were the one that came and made it into an actual those glyphs into an actual line, try to make it into actual language. You know what I'm saying? And give it. That's where you get that what is that stone that has the three writing, Demotic, Greek and Demotic and Egyptian. So they based it on that Champollion, based those lettering systems and the sound to those, with that, saying that it means this and this and that. But that comes by way of the Greeks. Because how else Egyptians, oceans? Well, no. That form of the first glyph writing in hieroglyphics. Yeah, that the Greeks did a lot to that too. With the Demotic Greeks, because how else would that tablet have Greek on it? And giving, what I'm saying, and being able to translate from the hieroglyphic to the Greek to the Demotic, you see that being played out. So you say, oh, so the Greek had something to do with this. 'Cause who else would know Greek like that if they weren't invested in the Greek culture, that culture? And then that's the Ptolemies. Ptolemy were Greeks, Abyssinians, and Greeks that went into ancient Kemet, the upper part, and became pharaohs. A big house, the house of Ptolemy became a big house. Like you have the House of York and the House of Orange. Well, the Ptolemy was a house. And that's where Cleopatra comes out of. Mm. You're talking about the Egyptian glyphs, the hieroglyphics. I know what you're saying. Right about Prince. What's going on, Prince Eli? Mm-hmm. The Azana Stele of Ethiopia. I will check it out. I heard about it. I will check it out. Great. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. So yeah, we can do a class on that about writing and those glyphs, and we can look into the archaeology and look to see what you could pull up, and then we could just put it all together. We can have a conversation like that, because that's again investigating. See, the idea here is to have a method, what they call the scientific method, or the method, a natural method of doing things. It's like we forgot how to reason with so much linear thinking that we're not now reasoning circular. We're looking at everything flat. We're looking at everything two-dimensional, right? But we're not seeing the third dimension, the fourth dimension, and the fifth dimension. We're not expanding. So, that's a big, huge problem. It's a problem. So I'm hoping that as I learn and what I wanted to achieve, my goal is to have a method, which is Nupu, our ancient science, is to learn more about this method that you find in Nuwapu, that you find in certain schools, ancient schools. This method is to actually keep it relevant, keep it going, so that we don't, again, like Abiso Campos said, we don't become enslaved and we don't become conquered. We have the proper knowledge that we've gotten from proper investigation, and also from the seed of wisdom. Because in the seed of wisdom, humanity gains its knowledge, real knowledge from the seed of wisdom. Wisdom is a history of knowing what's good and bad. And, is knowing what's good and bad in the history of things. It's experiences, wisdom. When you look at somebody who have a lot of experiences, you gain knowledge. When you look at your own experiences, you gain knowledge. There are people out here that want to spit knowledge, not knowledge, but has no experience. Oh boy. Gotta go get something to drink. But I'm gonna leave it there. Peace and blessing to everybody. Let me do my outro. And thank you very much for that. Tahaka, Prince Eli, my brother, Ashuk, Bondor, Zaid. Hope I'm not missing nobody here. Hey, peace and blessings to everybody, okay? Let me play you my outro. I got an outro now, y'all. Okay? So peace.